Alrighty, boys and girls. Technical issues, gotta love them. Here's to hoping they don't plague the stream too much today. I've accidentally, and maybe quite stupidly, made some changes in OBS. So, yeah. Let's see how this goes, shall we? How we doing, boys and girls? How we doing? Twitch introduced a new feature yesterday that required an update to OBS. And it's meant to be so that I encode multiple versions of the stream and send Twitch multiple versions of the stream. Meaning hopefully you guys will get like different quality settings more reliably. So that, you know, if you're watching on mobile or whatever. Because I always stream in the highest quality I possibly can get away with, but I understand that that doesn't work for everybody. And Twitch usually does a lot of the encoding their side, and now there's the option for content creators to do it themselves. My PC is powerful enough to do that under normal circumstances, but it's not broken. You shouldn't try and fix it. So let's see how it goes today, shall we? Let's see how it goes. It crashed after about 5 minutes earlier, so let's hope it doesn't do that again. But welcome in. Good morning. I'm just making myself some coffee, and we'll get to doing some profession testing. I want to look at Alchemy today. It's been a while since we've just broken down Alchemy and figured out, you know, go through Alchemy from start to finish. Leveling it up, figuring out how it does its thing, playing with playing with the transmutagen stuff, thaumaturgy, that's the word. My God, my brain doesn't work. YouTube not working yet, it seems. YouTube stream should be good. You might need to, every time YouTube completely crashes, it creates a new live stream. There'll be, if you won't be able to just refresh, you'll have to go back and do it manually on YouTube, which is fortunately one of the pitfalls of YouTube live stream. But right, let's make sure everything's working. Yeah, YouTube is up and running. Maybe we can delete the old one actually. Delete. Okay. YouTube is up and running. No. Why is it not doing that then? Where's my YouTube dashboard? There's YouTube dashboard. It's all good now. Wonderful stuff. Great. Okay. Let's do the sensible thing. I'm going to have to keep an eye on Yoldi Task Manager then to make sure that everything's working fine. It looks good for now. CPU is chugging along nicely. Loads of memory left. Graphics card is Gucci. Using nearly all of its dedicated memory, which is worrying, but the video encode is fine. We're good. Did you explore Darkmoon cards on the beta? They're kind of decent damage-wise. It'd be a good goal-making opportunity. Weirdly, people farm them in delves and don't craft them like usual. Any insights? I haven't got any insights on acquiring them, no. Scribes don't craft them, though, you're right. With scribes not crafting them, it's going to be the first expansion ever where scribes don't craft Darkmoon cards. Technically, we could in Dragonflight, but it was the wrong move. But yeah, it depends if they're on people's BIS lists or not. It'll be big business if they're on BIS lists, and they'll be a flop if they're not. Darkmoon cards are an interesting one. Wherever gear is concerned, wherever like the player power side of things is concerned, I just like to make sure that I will have my professions in place so that if there's a crafted item that people need, I can make it and I'll sell it to them. It'll be easy stuff. Mod for everyone on the YouTube. Yeah, I don't even know how to give people mod on YouTube, if I'm honest. Sure, it's in my dashboard somewhere. I'm fortunate enough that YouTube kind of runs itself. Yeah, let me grab my coffee. I'm a bit flustered clearly this morning because of tech issues. Give me a second. It's inscription delve only. I mean, I'd not heard them specifically coming from delves. They're tagged as like a world drop item. It might just be that the loot table for them is not particularly great right now, which is what I suspect is probably the case. I'm not convinced loot tables for most world mobs have actually been properly populated yet. Cloth doesn't seem to be dropping for regular Joe. Tailoring's very broken anyway, but if cloth isn't dropping for regular Joe, there's an awful lot of grey items that are dropping for players, which is easily considered a little bit weird in the first place. Most of those grey items tend to disappear as they trim the fat of loot tables and actually populate it with real things. Tonight, though, we might get a beta build. There might be a build this evening. People forced to do delves. I don't know. I don't know where the... It might just be that players have found them in delves currently because it happens to be on the loot table in the mobs of the delves and not in the rest of the world yet. If they make Darkmoon cards only drop from delves, though, that's just funny. That will be amusing. Ooh, instant disconnects every time. I hope they fix this one. I still don't know how to feel about delves, you know. I've done a few of them. In fact, I've done a fair few delves. They don't scream at me. I don't know how else to approach this other than just they don't scream at me. I should probably not make a goblin if we're doing alchemy. Darkmoon deck's coming back. Well, they're going to exist. They're going to exist in the same fashion that Ace through till 8 combine them to make a trinket. But I'm yeah, still not sure what to think about them if I'm honest. Right, there's a few things I wanted to look at in here. Alchemy. I don't strictly have a full leveling path for alchemy. I went with the theory that because it's based on the discovery system, your path to 100 is going to be different to somebody else's. I want to test if that's still the same situation. I want to test if it's still very RNG based. Why are we filling up the barn still? Sure. As I even noticed with engineering, there was a sort of path to success in a way, even though engineering's on the same sort of random system. I should at least be... See, what is this? Bubbling mycobloom. What's this? See, this is new. Increase resourcefulness by 8. Increase multicraft by 10. Okay. This is why we go back and check things, because things change. Let's set ourselves up on the assumption we're going to need a bunch of materials and things. So let's grab... we are likely to want one of those. We are likely to want one of these. Experimentations and transmutations for testing. Formulated courage. We'll grab some of those because I'm sure we'll need them. Then we just need some herbs, don't we? Probably some vials, actually. Where's the vials gone? Gilded vials. Grab some of them. We need this stuff as well, don't we? How much of that we need?
Glad I could help.
Herbs.
What brings you here?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, no. Oh, we've got quality 1s. We can buy quality 2s now as well. Oh, I didn't mean to buy 1,000 of them. Flipping hell. 1,000 of them now. Okay. Now the OCD kicks in of having everything in the right spot. Right, materials.
Ancestors.
Have a little play then. So far, Delve seems like Torghast without the fun buff. Yeah, I still can't get my head around Delves, you know. I don't really know what they're trying to be. They're not strictly dungeons. They're not scenario. Yeah, like Torghast had the advantage, right? If it had a very, you know, people understood Torghast. They were like, oh yeah, it's a mostly single player thing. Sure, you can go in with mates if you wanted to, but most people didn't. Torghast was kind of like that roguelite. You just kind of get powerful. You know, it had its identity. Delves just don't have an identity. Like, they're a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of this and a bit of that. And they're same most of the time, but then they're a little bit different. And it's like, I don't really get them. I don't really get them. And considering it's predominantly focused towards, like, world content-y type, I don't know. I still don't get Delves. They don't have a strong identity that seems to be, why is this a thing? I'm really not sure. Hate it when people screen sharing their bags are a mess. I can't help it sometimes, but when I'm doing things like this, I try to keep it neat and tidier. They drop at most normal item level and the vault options also, so it's casual weekly. Yeah, I get the reward, you know, you can slap a reward structure on anything. It's the content I don't get. I don't really sort of see their purpose. Like, you gotta remember, like, the best way to look at any new piece of content is to strip away the reward structure. Ignore whatever the reward structure is, because the rewards are there to distract you from what it actually is. When you strip the rewards away, like raids, very obvious, right? You take a bunch of people into an area that there is no chance you should ever be able to solo this. You need the help of many other people to down the big dragon. And the big dragon has cool stuff that you want, and it's meant to be the pinnacle of the game. It's meant to be the thing you strive towards. And then you have dungeons, which are like, you know, slightly smaller content you can do with a handful of players. A delve's meant to be the thing that is kind of smaller than that, even still, that you can do solo. I don't know. I don't know if we were... I don't know. I just don't get them. I'm not excited by them. They don't excite me. Delves feel like something that's going to be on my map, that there'll be a world quest associated with, and I will go and do it. It'll be something that, you know, I'll do each one a few times. There's the opportunity to progress through them, to make them harder and harder and harder. It feels like a single player Mythic Plus. And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't get delves. I don't like... They don't have that identity that I'm looking for from a game mode. Diablo Rift's little brothers. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Now we'll see how they end up. We'll see how they end up. I don't suspect they're gonna. I don't think they'll live past this expansion, if I'm honest. At least not in their current form, unless there is significantly more to come with them. I know they change out the buddy that comes with us every season. Apart from that, they feel a bit meh. Especially as like an expansion level feature. Wowhead used Manthus's video in their article about the gold sync mount. Well, that was Samadan's little report. It was, Samadan does me a solid when he does his little reports each week. He, Penguin did a more in-detailed version of it a few days prior. Oh, that brings us some more friends in here too. Well, it was actually, the video was actually spread around the place. When I look at my dashboard, there's a handful of different websites out there that have shared it, which is interesting to me. Probably why it's done twice as many views as my videos normally do. Anyway, let me get some coffee in me. Let me look at Alchemy in a bit of detail. Have they changed anything particularly here? Is there a path to success that isn't strictly limited to... Oh, we need core-way catalysts. So actually, we do have to make potions first, where we can sort of state that there is starting to be a... Skill 1 to 10 is going to be on healing potions, isn't it? How far can we take these basic potions? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 probably. There we go. Finally, skill 10. Make a whole bunch of potions. What are these called? Algari. We will need these. Break them down. Research. So we make a handful of potions, then we neutralize them with some dilution solutions in order to get some core-way catalyst. I think we should probably break most, if not all of these down. Is it just me there's no sound on the YouTube side of the stream? You'll have in-game sound, there just won't be music. Unless something's gone horribly wrong my end. Right, so we've got a bunch of core catalysts now. Now we can do some experimentation. Now, this is where your choice of what you experiment with kind of matters. As it would seem obvious to use the cheapest of cheapest Mycobloom to get some starter recipes. But what I did notice last time is Mycobloom doesn't seem to have great results when it comes to research. What did I write about experimentation last time? Wild experimentation is your frequent research. It takes 30 herbs, 2 core catalysts. Well, that's changed. It's now 20 herbs. 20 herbs and 2 core catalysts, and occasionally fail. You'll need to use various different herbs to be able to research all the different crafts. So just using the quote-unquote cheap basic herb will only get you so far. You'll continue to want to keep this on cooldown even after you've researched things, blah blah blah. Then meticulous experimentation we'll learn soon. Also then takes 5 artisan security. Do we have recipe difficulty and skill for experimentation now? Concentration can also be used. Ingenuity kicks into play. Skill requirement for both the experimentations only affects the quality of the items you receive. Does not appear to increase your chance to learn something new. Right, yeah, okay. So maybe we throw some... Well, I know categorically that Blessing Blossom is going to be quite heavily available at the beginning because Blessing Blossom comes from the Isle of Dawn. But what if we break some Blessing Blossom down? Slumbering Soul Serum. We experiment till we go boom. We went boom, but it didn't strictly give me cooldown. So does experimenting not put you on cooldown anymore? Welcome in, Drizzling Rose. Good morning, good morning. Dwarf Beer, how we doing? Welcome in. How is the Renown working with warband? Can I take a contract on each guy and level up all 4? No, contracts are account-wide. You can only equip 1 contract at a time. Using a contract gives you an account-wide buff that lasts until reset. Once that buff has dropped, you can use another one. Either continue with the same faction or not faction. So regardless to what shenanigans happens with these contracts, you will still only be able to boost 1 per week. And of course there's 4 factions, so it's going to take you at least 4 weeks to utilize a contract on all of them. But that said, within a space of 4 weeks, there'll be players that will have hit 25 naturally anyway. Okay, using Blessing Blossom for experimentation seems to be pretty lucrative. They definitely seem to have jacked up the amount that it teaches you stuff. Last time I had to play with this. We went boom and now we've got the recent catastrophe. Screenshot of that. Duh, duh, duh. Okay, now fortunately on the beta we can circumvent that either way. But in terms of leveling, you probably want to... wild experimentation. Until it cool down. Will you do for your subs Patreon some juicy spreadsheet like in Shadowlands when the game starts in August? Well, say hello to a Goblin Guide to the War Within. A currently 248 page document that is already available to Patreons. Gold Goblin Patreons. Which is exactly what I'm working on right now. Does it work on all characters though? Yeah, your contract will affect all characters. What still requires some testing is, can you, say for example, go and do a world quest on one character, gain bonus reputation from the contract, and then log on to another character and do the same world quest and get yet more bonus reputation. If that's the case, if that's the case, cycling through as many level 70s as you have access to quote unquote farm world quests for reputation will be what players will do to like slingshot themselves to 25. Well, I say slingshot, it will still require a hell of a lot of hard work. 150, even if you get a quality 3 contract, that's 150 rep per world quest. It's 2,500 reputation per renown. So you're looking at like, what's that? Quick maths, 15-ish world quests per renown level. You're going to be doing a lot of world quests on a lot of characters if that shenanigans exists. But we'll get to testing that at some point anyway. It's something that's a little tricky to test because even leveling inscription to the point where you can make contracts on the leveling realms is also frustrating because you have to farm all of your own herbs to do it. I don't actually think it's going to take quite that many herbs, but we'll see. 62,500 rep to get to 25 renown. Yeah, divide that by 150. A potential 417 world quests. That's not a fun week. I don't think it's going to be even if you did 100 world quests a day, that's long. That's long. Not to mention, I don't even know how many characters you'd need to even have access to 420 world quests. That's not going to be fun. The requirements to be able to craft a contract, you need renown 5 with whichever faction it is that you're doing stuff for. And you need inscription 35, I believe. What's the point to be 25 on all renown? Well, renown 25 gives you a heroic crafting token. So that's potentially 4 pieces of heroic gear. I'm pretty sure they'll hotfix it if it works that way. Yeah, yeah, you and me both. I think it's something that they will. The contracts haven't even been fully implemented by the looks of things. I mean, for goblins, well, there's not really much benefit directly for goblins, but the knowledge books are at like renown 12 to 14. So if you want to be able to pick up the knowledge books on a bunch of your alts, you will want to get to at least renown 12, 14 relatively quickly. The sooner the better, really. Is that also going to mean 4 pieces of heroic gear on all characters also? Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I've not looked into that side of things too much. This is falling into the category of like raider, pusher, 1% sort of mentality. I tend not to do too much of that unless it directly crosses over with like goblin activities. But I'm sure the you know the gears are churning. Still be restricted by sparks. It's all preparation though, isn't it? You get it, and the thing is, the reason why top end players will want it, they'll want to do it before September the 10th. They'll want to do it, they'll get it all done in the first couple of weeks if possible. Because then soon as the raid comes out, soon as the season starts, they want it done, right? You know, that's the stuff they want to get done. It doesn't matter if they're going to have to wait to get their sparks and whatever. The point is that they just want it done so it's done. So then it's something they can tick the box next to it and they move on to the next thing they have to sweat out, right? So, you know, it's... you can't do everything in the first 2 weeks because the season hasn't opened, but the things you can do in those 2 weeks, players will want to get it all done. Like, it doesn't matter if it makes sense. It's just get it done and then it's done. That's kind of the approach that is taken most of the time. Will guild crafting orders work if a guild member's on a different realm? It's meant to. In theory, it should, yes. Cross-realm guild orders are meant to be a thing. It's one of the main reasons why I'm very tempted to actually set up a bit of a goblin crafting guild going into the War Within. We should, in theory, be able to do that once pre-patch lands. And people can jump in there with their crafters if they want. And we can advertise it's a place to come and get your gear crafted if you struggle elsewhere. Don't know how lucrative it'll be, but, you know, present the option to people, somebody will take it. Right, so you do a bunch of experimentations until you hit the cooldown. We hit the cooldown. By the time you hit the cooldown, there's a good chance you're going to have a few things to craft. You are you fishing for anything particularly at this point? Anything that's deemed remarkably cheap to level with and can easily be acquired. This is what we're kind of really looking for. Things that can remove the random. If there's something you can do to remove random, it's usually worth doing it. You don't get harmonious horticulture until you've spec'd into alchemy mastery. It's an interesting choice. What's this petal powder business? Multicraft by 10. Azalgar Alchemy 25. Okay, this has clearly been put in here to remove some random. But we want to do what we can do to get to renown to get to 25, don't we?
Peace, friend.
Mantheus, is that you? Yes. Have these been put in here? No. Okay. Good place for solo goblins to get some group content done. Yeah, potentially. Whatever you know, whatever people want. I'm wondering what my approach is going to be on suggesting people craft one of everything. There's part of me that feels like you should... Whoa, holy sugar plum fairies. Recipe difficulty 785? Shit the bed. Damn, son. You could use 365 of your concentration to guarantee quality 2. Lol. That number's bugged by a lot of crafts. Yeah, that seems outrageous. Okay. Our aim is to use wild experimentation to reach skill 25. You should be able to guarantee a skill point from almost any new craft that you learn. You will want to craft one of every new item for the first time craft bonus. Does that make sense? I aim is to use wild experimentation. Why am I doing this off screen nowadays? I don't need to be off screen. Our aim is to use wild experimentation to reach skill 25. You should be able to guarantee a skill point from almost any new craft that you learn. You'll want to craft one of every new item for the first time craft bonuses. This should help you reach skill 25 even if you go on down. Okay. Skill 25, we then go and learn something else. But so the concept is we just got to hack our way to skill 25. So we make one of everything. First time craft bonuses. It's going to give us artisan security. It's going to give us our knowledge point. Bubbling mycobloom puncture. Craft one of those. Increases resourcefulness by 8. 1 gilded vial and 4 mycobloom. What does the difference by 8, by 11? 5 gold for a gilded vial, plus 4 mycobloom. Let's say mycobloom is 2 gold a piece. That's 8. That's 13 gold to give yourself 8 resourcefulness. It's just not worth, is it? This is what I've always had the issue with these finishing reagents. Is that they just never seem to be worth the very you'd have to have something remarkably expensive for the use of something like this to matter, or the bonus that they provide needs to be ludicrously higher. Like if I'm making these a flask, for example, a flask using null lotus, or I should buy some null lotus. A flask that uses something expensive like null lotus, and if you are pushing to guarantee these and you're using expensive materials on it, then maybe slapping like one of these on it if it costs you 10 gold extra to gain 8 resourcefulness. The problem is 8 resourcefulness is pointless. That's not even 1%. If you're going to use a finishing reagent, they need to like be worth something. Even the top quality ones of these are going to be like 1.5% resourcefulness. It means you could spend a lot of gold on something and it not even proc. Bottled Brilliance increases your chance to gain a skill point by 38. Petal Powder multicraft by 10. Oh, you can see the difference here. 8, 11, 15. 1.5% resourcefulness on an item that's consumed on use is like, it's just not going to ever make mathematical sense. I think you'll want to get 30 knowledge points as quickly as possible to be able to learn formulated courage to be able to keep experimenting through the alchemical mastery tree, unless you go the transmute route. Maybe have to farm up some treasures. Yeah, if you want to just absolutely zerg and unlock everything as fast as possible, that is definitely a route to go. This is why I think alchemy is going to have a couple of different approaches depending on what your end goal is. Formulated courage, those is the item that you can use to basically ignore the cooldown on experimentation. Can I just say I'm loving the way that the concentration works? Cool way of making everything a pseudo daily craft. Yeah, I don't think people have quite realised this yet. I don't think people have put 2 and 2 together with this concentration. That yeah, practically anything is a daily craft. At least for the you know, you could even once you guarantee something at max quality, you can guarantee it all day long, but your crafting cost is going to be high, which means only when the time is right are you going to want to do it. The majority of the supply of the top tier stuff is going to be using quality 2 materials, but also using concentration. But then that's going to limit the amount that each individual crafter can make per day, so that the market doesn't get too flooded, which I think is very clever. Main alchemist will probably beeline for formulated courage, once then your alt can go straight into transmutes and then probably ignore it. Yeah, running around and getting your alchemy treasures, 24 knowledge points real fast. If it's 30 points you need to get the formulated courage, maybe that is smart advice. Even though you can't do anything with it yet. Well, you can't even unlock specs until you hit 25, so you are going to have to sort of hack your way to 25 to begin with. But it does seem sensible to then, soon as you unlock your spec trees, if you're going the main alchemy route, to unlock this, so you can just experiment, unlock everything. You proc a flask pretty quick though. Wonder what, like... Yeah, this is why I really like Alchemy. Because it's not cookie cutter. It's not, you know, for example, if I look at, like, leatherworking, for example... Leatherworking has a very strict, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you'll hit, like, max rank. Leatherworking has that. A lot of other professions have that. Alchemy, not so much. Alchemy requires you to use your brain. You know, actually use your brain. Adapt to what's thrown your way and what's not thrown your way. How many wild experimentation patterns are unlocked that way? Well, nearly everything. Alchemy, basically, if it doesn't come from a spectre, it comes from discovery. At least in terms of the things you're crafting. That's a trainer recipe that we get at 25 in a minute anyway. Experiment using relevant ingredients. So this, for example, you'll see this a lot. You can learn Cave Dweller's Delight by experimenting with any of these herbs. And that pattern basically goes all the way through. So practically everything is unlocked via this discovery system. Meaning you're going to want to figure out a way to unlock as much of this as possible, as fast as possible. The PvP flasks are unlocked via honor. Experimentation, all the transmutagens and stuff is experimentation. Your alchemy stone comes from Ashkahet. 150 points for that. Cauldrons come from spectres. Yeah, literally everything. You could, in theory, unlock every potion, every flask. Of which I would like to point out, this is one thing I would say about alchemy. There's nothing to make. They haven't done any fluff really this time round. There's not basic potions and then better quality potions. No, there's just bang, here's your potion. Like bang, here's your flask. Here's a flask that's going to increase your crit. Here's a flask that's going to increase your haste. They've kept it real simple. But every single one is something that you might need to spec into pretty aggressively to make it at top quality. But so when leveling alchemy, you just want to unlock as much as you can, as quickly as you can. So you can adapt to what the market wants at any given time. One day it might be more lucrative to spend your concentration on crafting one potion. The next day it might be more lucrative for you to spend your concentration on another potion. And you want to be able to make sure you've unlocked all of those potions so that you can adapt to the market. In theory, then make most gold. Alchemy is the first job you're doing, or have you done some before? Oh, I've looked at alchemy previously. I've looked at alchemy in quite some detail, but things dramatically change on the beta, so I go back and I look at them all again from time to time, just to keep up to date. We're kind of very closely getting to, like, almost release candidate level builds now. The PTR for pre-patch is now release candidate. So what we see on there is what will go live. Pre-patch of which is going to land on the 23rd, by the way. The pre-patch event won't start until a week later, but the pre-patch 11.0 patch will happen on the 23rd. That's when warbands will kick in. That's when, like, the transmog changes will kick in. It'll be a week later that the pre-patch event starts. So they're doing a pre-patch to the pre-patch. In a way. And whilst people have semi-guessed what the date's going to be, Bellula kind of accidentally pretty much confirmed it yesterday in his latest video. Or at least he said it with enough certainty it makes me think that he wasn't contemplating, that he knows that it's happening then. Do you think concentration and ingenuity are first priority to invest knowledge in? No, the exact opposite. Do not invest any knowledge points into concentration or ingenuity. Trust me when I tell you, that is the biggest bait. Knowledge points, do not spend knowledge points on anything that like even remotely looks like ingenuity or concentration.
Let's make sweet profit together.
There'll be way more better things for you to spend your knowledge points on first. Spend your knowledge points on anything else first. Because you've got to remember that concentration and ingenuity only has any effect when you actually use it. Multi-craft, resourcefulness, flat skill affect everything every time. So you get way more value out of them as stats. You only want to spend knowledge points on ingenuity and concentration when you literally have nothing else to spend them on. They are the lowest priority stats as far as knowledge points are concerned. This will also, I think, be another problem for a lot of people. That they'll be like, ooh, you mean I use less concentration? And they'll put a bunch of points in it, and then they'll realize that themselves, and then they'll be like, oh, I wasted 30 points, and now I don't have any more points, and I have to wait to get more points next. Oh dear, where's my undo button? Oh, there isn't one. Whoops. Chalida with the 12 months. Happy birthday. Thank you very much, by the way. Appreciate that. I smell like raspberry yogurt. Okay, sure. Sure. Could smell of worse, for sure. You had to be there. Okay, sure. What's the score for tonight? Oh, I don't care about tonight. I mean, I'll watch the game tonight, but I'm significantly more interested in tomorrow. As so should you. Why do I care who Netherlands are going to be playing in the final? Let's be real here. Why do I care? Anyway, back to Alchemy. If you run short on core catalysts, you can make some more by making some mana potions or healing potions. Probably healing potions. I'm curious who our opponent will be in the final. Yeah, exactly. Why do I care who Netherlands are going to play in the final? These are still not going to be cheap. That's 25 plus whatever the cost of the Myco Bloom. Okay, let's harvest some first-time crafts on these. First craft, first craft. Let's do what I suggest others do. we need to now do some more experimentations, preferably 4. So we're going to need some more things to break down. Now, there's the theory you could obviously break down the stuff you've just crafted, but it's probably smarter to make healing potions to then break them down in the early days, because they'll be the cheapest option. Hang on. I'm burning through rank 2 vials here. Man.
Hey, how you doing?
Where's the vials gone? I swear I could buy all... oh, are they on you?
Careful out there.
Neutralize all. Dos tacos. Only 2? You want a diet? Who eats 2 tacos? Barely worth the trip to the restaurant to buy 2 tacos. Do I throw any suggestions to people what to experiment with either? But as long as you still have recipes to learn, I guess maybe experimenting with Blessing Blossom might be the cheaper option. Of course I went boom. $25. Boom. Okay. Skill 25. So, hack your way to skill 25. So you're going to want to do... your success to 25 is going to be pretty RNG on how many times you can avoid the cooldown. But is relatively deterministic all the same. Skill 25 plus. Now I think is where we want to branch off. If you're going to level alchemy for the purpose of transmutation, you go one route. You're going to level alchemy for the purpose of crafting and selling shit, you go another route. You'll want to focus on reaching skill 25 before all else. From 25 onwards, ending if this or quote unquote main. Very difficult to type with a microphone and a cup of coffee in front of your keyboard. From 25 onwards, depending on if this is your main alchemist or an alt, take different leveling paths. One who learns all crafts. Potion. One who learns all recipes and has the goal of selling mass potions, flasks. What the hell? Make blasphemites. Clearly, there's only going to be two types of alchemists. Those who make blasphemites and those who do not. Blasphemies? No. Blasphemites is actually a word, Google. Okay. Let's simulate the scenario then of the one who is the main alchemist that wants to unlock everything. Potions, vials, blasphemites. Potions and flasks this time. Vials have been demoted to profession buffs. Flasks are back. And are like woven into the flask tree, I believe. Profession vials are in here. These two trees are pathetic, by the way. That's why it's kind of like you bundle these two mostly together. 30, 40, 50 points and 30, 80 points. 80 plus, what did I say was in here? 30, 40, 50. You could basically be the master. You could cap both. I reckon it's going to be nearly possible in the first week to fill both of these trees if you want. There's about 100 knowledge points up for grabs really quickly. Meaning if you really wanted to, you could probably smash out both of these trees. This is why I tend to think it's like there is two routes really for alchemy. Those who craft potions and flasks for people, and then those that do thaumaturgy. There's really only two routes. It's not a tree, it's a twig. Yeah, I know, this is pathetic. I don't know what way to go, flasks first or potions. I'll have the alts for blasphemy. Well, the only thing is you are going to put quite many points in alchemical mastery. Since this just gives you flat skill. 50 points in here becomes almost mandatory if you're playing with these two. So you slam 50 points in here. This is what I'm thinking. This is only first thought process. You're going to pick either flasks or you're going to pick either potions. Because you can fill these trees pretty quickly. But you're going to slam 50 points in here probably as soon as you can. Because it's just flat skill, right? You absolutely need flat skill, whatever you're doing all the time. Plus, you get your formulated courage. The 30 points in here might be the very first thing you do, regardless of whether you go flasks or potions. 30 points in here will give you the ability to unlock formulated courage, which in turn allows you to just continuously make shit until you've learned everything. That's not going to be cheap, but it's what alchemists will probably want to do early days. From that point on, you are slowly but surely going to want to fill out points in these trees. But it depends if you want to. Yeah, you're gonna be wombo comboing So like flasks, for example, I've already learned Flask of Tempered Mastery, so the Mastery Flask. Now, this uses Blessing Blossoms and Aratha's Spear. If I want to be Big Dick Mastery Flask crafter, I'm going to want to be better at using Blessing Blossom and Aratha's Spear. Meaning I'm going to want to go into Alchemical Mastery, and I'm going to want to put points in Aratha's Spear, and I'm going to want to put points in Blessing Blossom. Like, these will then be of priority to me in making that one craft better. So you've got potentially 50 points in here, 40 points in here, 40 points in here, 80, 130, 150, 175. Your first 175 points, if we went that route. Let me grab the knowledge point book thing. Where's it gone? Oh, it's for you, isn't it? You'd have your first 175 points. Basically filling this one, filling both of these, and then filling flasks and then bulk production. Those 175 points will then, in essence, make you as good as you possibly can be at making this one recipe. Whether that's enough, we'll test in a minute. Whether that's going to be enough for you to be able to guarantee these at top quality or not, even then, is still going to depend on the tools that you get during that same time, and also the quality of the materials that you use here. You'll need to be using quality 3 materials all the way through to guarantee quality 3. So, yeah, quality 3 flasks are not going to be easy to achieve. 175, I think you can't get that for that many for a few weeks. Well, one-time knowledge point sources. Open world stuff, you're looking at... What did I work this out to be? Have I worked it out for Alchemy properly? I've worked it out for some other profession. 24 points from your one-time treasures. Artisan's knowledge books, which are 30 points. You'll get 10 points from the Nerubians. And there's a faction that'll also give you another 10 points. So you're looking at 75 knowledge points on a one-time basis by just going out and doing things. 75 knowledge points, plus what else are you going to be adding to that? You're going to be adding first-time crafts to that. You're going to be adding any that you get via NPC crafting orders to that. Then you're going to be adding the weekly stuff on top of that. The weekly knowledge, we're still far less clued up on exactly what that's going to be. But there's the potential to get 100 knowledge in week 1. Then you're going to be drip fed, whatever you're drip fed from there on. So, yeah, you're probably going to be looking... By the time Season 1 launches, 2 weeks into the expansion, I would say the best professions out there, or the best players with their professions out there, are going to be somewhere in the region of about 150 knowledge points, would be my guess. So whatever you can do with 150 knowledge points is going to be what the season will launch with. So maybe that's a rough number to keep in mind if you're doing some testing. What can I do with 150 knowledge points? If I can't do it with 150 knowledge points, it's going to take longer than the start of the season. And that's if you're doing everything, right? I want to clarify here. That's with you pumping and doing everything you possibly can. That's still going to require you getting access to your top quality tools as well within that period of time, which in the first couple of weeks is going to be difficult because you need 900 artisans acuity to get your 3 profession tools, which worries me because there's only one way to do that reliably, and that's to not even pick up your profession. Yeah, 900 per profession as well, yeah. You have 2 professions on a single character. That's 1,800 artisans acuity you need. Shuffle, baby. Yeah, this is the concern for me. You can get 1,300 artisans acuity day 1 if you know what you're doing. But that also requires some pretty degenerate gameplay, which I don't like. Plus then whatever you're going to need for buying recipes and the likes. And buying the knowledge books. Let's not forget these knowledge books don't come for free. Those 30 knowledge points, buying the Artisans Consortium knowledge books, they're 200, 300, and 400. So what's 4, 7? That's another 900 for that 30 knowledge points. $1,300 for doing the first crafts on all the professions. No, that's for flying around and picking up the treasures for every profession. You basically cycle through every profession. You pick up 2 professions, you fly around, you pick up all the treasures. You learn the knowledge points for those treasures. So it's 24 points. Multiply that by 5 for the Artisan's Acuity. And then you drop those 2 professions. You obviously get to keep the Artisan's Acuity though. And then you pick up 2 new professions. And you cycle through all of the professions and you repeat that process. And the final profession you pick up is the one that you actually plan on playing. It's a lot of flying around. It's a lot of treasure finding. It's a lot of sweaty, degenerate play. But that will mean that by the time you start to level your actual profession, you'll have like 1,300 Artisan's Acuity ready to go. I just want to clarify, that's not going to be easy, right? That's going to take some time as well. You're basically going to be flying around the zones for flipping hours achieving that, even if you know where all the treasures are beforehand. But I do. Haha. I have documented where every treasure is. But it's... The problem for me is that on my main characters that have had professions for years, there's no way I'm doing that. There's just no way I'm dropping my profession, dropping 2 decades worth of profession work, just to gain 1,000 Artisan's Acuity. It's just not happening. So that's the real conundrum for me, that I know categorically my main characters are going to be hampered because they won't have access to the same amount of Artisan's Acuity that other players will have access to. No, first-time crafts do not always reward 5 Acuity. In fact, in most cases, they reward 1. They nuked this at the beginning of Dragonflight. First-time craft farming isn't anywhere near as lucrative as it once was. It didn't even launch in Dragonflight in that, like, overpowered state. They nuked it before Dragonflight even went live. You can funnel Acuity through to your main through alt characters crafting your tools. Yes. Yes. That is assuming that you're not responsible for making your own tools. What does that look like for alchemists? Alchemy, who makes alchemy tools? Blacksmith makes the tool and one of the accessories, and the leatherworker makes your second accessory. So if you have pocket blacksmiths and pocket leatherworkers who are spec'd into making the tools for your main, then you're going to do that at the cost of their profession progress as well. So it's, for me at least, unless you were going to have multiple of every single profession, it's like you're gaining here at the cost of something down here. No, acuity can't go in the war. No. That's not what they mean. It's like when you put in a work order, a personal work order, I as an alchemist could put in a work order to a blacksmith to make my tool and not provide the artisan's acuity. So the blacksmith then provides it. So that's a way for you to take 300 artisan's acuity from your blacksmith for the benefit of your alchemist. You do get experience for it though. I remember leveling strat with professions at the start of Dragonflight. Yeah, it's still a thing. You still get a reasonable amount of experience from crafting something for the first time. That said, the leveling path seems to be better in the War Within than it was in Dragonflight. Especially since the second, third, and fourth time you're doing it, for example, it's faster anyway because of a stacking buff you get. You can do that with a big gold commission, somebody might make it. Well, that's probably the route I will take. I will probably just buy my artisan's acuity off somebody else. Since, you know, that's viable. The issue is that what some of you may have spotted, I did tweet this out a while ago. Public orders require you to provide all materials now. So let's say I'm an alchemist and I put in an order for a tool. If I do public order, I have to provide everything. So you would actually need to find somebody that's happy to do that first. You can't just like ping out a public order without the artisan security. They've changed, now that we've got NPC work orders, they've rolled it back to the way Dragonflight started with, meaning that you have to provide all the materials on public orders. That means 99% of the player base will never see a public order ever again. But luckily, NPC work orders solve that problem, though I don't strictly believe it does. Tell a guildie to level blacksmithing, make the thing for you for X amount of gold. Oh yeah, I mean there's many levels of shenanigans that can go into doing it if you're trying to really be super optimal on just one profession. Alchemical Mastery's bugged. At 30 points in the core node, you can unlock all the 5 trees. One, two, three. Oh, you're meant to get the 4th here, and you're meant to get the 5th here. I mean, unlocking the tree, realistically unlock, even if that, I mean, it's a bug, report the bug, but it's not game breaking because you still have to put points in it. Unlocking it usually doesn't do anything. Not enough matter. You're going to want to fill this node pretty quickly anyway. If you level this mining, herbalism, and all the characters, wouldn't that give you a lot of extra artisan security? It would give you some. Give you some, not a lot though. It just depends how sweaty you want to go. The profession shuffle is still a thing. And in my opinion, the best way to utilize the shuffle is not to actually level the professions, but to pick up the professions and then go out and get their treasures. And then once you've got their treasures, drop them. You could technically level herbalism, level skinning, level mining to 100 as well, to get first time crafts on those, as that doesn't strictly cost you any outlay, it just costs you time. Plus it in theory gives you something that you can sell to recuperate some of that cost anyway. That's another level that you could go. Yeah, there's multiple levels to the sweat. Multiple levels to the sweat. Skill 25, we're going to have unlocked one Spectre as well, aren't we? Yeah. It's at skill 25. I think either way, I'm going to recommend people go get their treasures. At this point, I would highly suggest flying around collecting your 8 one-time treasures. These will provide 24 knowledge points and 120 artisan security. Find their locations. You can find their locations. Right, so the Alchemy main. The Alchemy main is going to want to take
Both, I hope.
30 points. You're going to want to unlock Alchemical Mastery, and you're going to want to put 30 points in it. Is this ever not a good idea? No. Is the weekly... Don't worry, Rose, I didn't answer it. Is there weekly knowledge quests, or is it only NPC orders that give them? There is a weekly quest to complete orders again. I don't know if there's going to be additional weekly quests. Gatherers have weekly quests to go out and gather something, but that's predominantly because I think they don't have work order quests. So instead of work orders, gatherers are just sent out to go get something. Similar to the quests in Dragonflight, honestly. But I don't think crafters are going to have so many quests, or at least if they are, they haven't been implemented properly on the beta yet. Draps with the Prime, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Welcome in, by the way. Do we know if there'll be masters that will give you flat knowledge points? If there will be, we haven't found them. I'm curious how many people will do degen and have multiple alts to constantly be using concentration. Oh, a lot of people. A lot of people. There are players out there that are just frantically leveling characters through Remix. The fact that you can get a level 70 character in like 2 hours in Remix is just mental. There are players that are making like 5 characters a day. By the time the War Within goes live, there'll be people with 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 plus characters. Now, obviously, if they all want to start leveling up their professions, that's going to absorb an awful lot of materials and going to be very expensive for those players as well. I don't think that's something that these people have quite considered, that it could easily cost 20 to 50k to level a profession in the first place. Isn't it going to be even faster when pre-patch hits with the XP reduction? Yeah, probably. Yeah. I've seen NPCs selling 10 flat. Yeah, no, the Nerubians will sell you some knowledge points. No goblin discount on the vendor, no. Hang on, let me focus on this for a second. So, okay, the main alchemist route. Let's simulate the main alchemist route that wants to unlock everything. Unlocking alchemical mastery. Unlocking alchemical mastery spec and spending 30 knowledge. Just will teach you how to craft. What's it called? Formulated courage or something? Let's you should have had some first time craft bonuses. You should have 24 points by going and getting some treasures, so it's entirely feasible for you to have 30 points. Not to mention, this is not a terrible idea on the basis that you will have plus 30 skill in crafting things anyway. You're not going to be able to get a bigger advantage than just flat crafting skill from anywhere else. So if we do that, we get formulated courage. Damn, missed it. That's the screenshot I wanted. This will open. This will let you continue to experiment without fear, without cooldown. Boom. What does it cost to make these? Just checking this doesn't cost anything ridiculous to make. Drink to elevate your focus on experimentation, allowing you to continue your pursuit of alchemical greatness for 10 minutes, no matter the cost. Okay, that's a win move. That's a win. But now, even though I'm on the beta, using formulated courage, we can experiment away. Wild experimentation has stopped giving us knowledge points, though. With the pre-patch date announced, when would the latest date we would have access to the PTR to do professional testing? Well, the pre-patch date hasn't actually officially been announced. I think Belial leaked it like pretty conclusively yesterday. But the patch is going to be the 23rd. The pre-patch event won't kick in until the week after, though. The beta will be up and live right up until the game goes live. Could you give a rough estimate on how much refulgent crystals and gleaming shards will cost? No clue. Absolutely no clue. Costs are based on demand. If there's lots of people that want them, they'll be expensive. If nobody wants them, they'll be free. Crystals are likely to be problematic because there won't be many of them about. So expect the crystals at least to be expensive. Now we can... Is there any recipe we're going to want to fish for? We learn the... Hang on, there's a new recipe we learn now, isn't there? This petal powder business. Is this giving us skill points? No. They threw that our way, but it doesn't really guarantee us any skill points, so it's not all that advantageous. Even crafting formulated courage gives us skill points. And it's actually going to be remarkably cheap. That's actually almost one of the cheapest ways. Holy shit, okay. Crafting. When does this stop giving skill points? $30. This is arguably going to be one of the cheapest recipes to make at this point to get skill points. Yellow at skill 30, green at skill 32, grey at skill 35. Well, that was 10 free points. Well, not free, but like points at least. Come on, 35. Okay, by this point it's not worth crafting these, but... okay. What did we make then? Okay, we made 17 of them. That's way too many. We're definitely not going to need that many. We're only going to need a handful of these anyway. Maybe only craft these until skill 30. Normal circumstances. Flasks and vials are going to be your best bet for getting skill ups at this point. They're going to be the most expensive. Continuing research to unlock new stuff. While isn't going to give us skill points, is there the option to fish for something that's then going to be remarkably cheaper to craft than other things? Frontline potions. Frontline potions looks like a good candidate of something to fish for. Everything using Myco Bloom. And a handful of uncommon herbs. All the flasks are going to be expensive because they have Null Lotus. Concentrated vials are going to be roughly the same sort of price. Yeah. Well, meticulous experimentation's on a default cooldown. Big default cooldown. Perform careful experimentation with 10 herbs of your choosing, potentially discovering new recipes in the process. You still have undiscovered recipes to learn from experimentation. Maybe at 35 you do your meticulous experimentation. Yeah, I think experimenting frontline potion guarantees skill points is arguably going to be the cheapest thing to craft. But obviously, yeah, okay. I think fishing for this frontline potion is probably not a terrible idea. Frontline potion takes Myco Bloom, Blessing Blossom, and Aratha's Spear. Let's pop one of them. We need some more Coreway catalysts, so we're going to make some more healing potions. Don't you want to still be spamming formulated knowledge since you'll mostly be chugging them? Well, it's a buff that lasts 10 minutes this time. It's not consumed on explosion type thing. So you're not actually going to be chugging them. You're unable to play at all until week 2. How badly is it going to hamper your profession growth? Theoretically, it shouldn't in any way, shape, or form. As NPC work orders will act as a catch-up system on knowledge points. You will likely be you'll be behind quite aggressively in terms of like overall account progression, but because there'll be players that will play all of that first week and get quite far ahead of you in terms of just physical time, leveling characters, leveling the professions, that sort of stuff. But it's in theory possible for you to catch up this time. You're not completely scuffed. NPC work orders take over dragon shards now. Also no dirt farming, thank God. Disturbed dirt exists, and there's a system around disturbed dirt that can reward you rubies. these rubies can then in turn be traded in for like material goods. You're not strictly going to be quote unquote farming dirt piles in the same way. But there will be some value in farming them still. Small, but there'll be some. Won't be knowledge points though, hopefully. Yeah, materials rather than knowledge points. It's not going to be quite the same. What are we theoretically trying to achieve here other than just unlocking stuff? Realistically, not a lot. Myco Bloom is still terrible for unlocking. Excessive experimentation? What is this? Perform alchemical research or experimentation 100 times. Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I still think that fishing for this is the plan. So, Blessings Blossom, Aratha's Spear. Oh, we run out of catalysts again. Leveling alchemy is not going to be cheap. The amount of herbs you're going to go through. Especially considering there are going to be a lot of people leveling alchemy because of flipping blasphemites. This dude's got no legs. There's a legless cow. Sorry, that caught my eye and distracted me. As expensive as it might be, I think flasks are going to be the best way to level if you just want to get to 100. Yeah, there's part of me that agrees with you. It's just that you kind of know that your main alchemists are going to want to unlock everything as sort of fast as possible. So if you're going to do this anyway, you might as well do it at a point where you can get skill ups from it as well. Is kind of my theory with this, unless it's like seriously cost prohibitive. But if it's expensive to do this, it's even more expensive to craft flasks. And the likelihood is that if everybody just crafts quality 1 flasks, like you're basically putting money in the bin. If you're gonna just put money in the bin, you want to put as little money in the bin as possible. But yeah, I am starting to think that if you unlock a flask recipe, just craft that a lot. Might be the core simple way just to fill this bar. Once people fill the bar, they can do whatever the heck they like. You're not going to be able to do the work orders without unlocking a lot of stuff. Well, that's also true. I mean, that said, though, when you look at alchemy for NPC orders... if I hide unlearned stuff, I'm, I'm pretty restricted pretty quickly. Not to mention these Donnies want quality 3 off the bat. This is why I'm not convinced that NPC work orders are that hot. You provide everything. You've provided nothing any quality, yet you want it at quality 2. So I have to spend 232 concentration to fill this order. It's kind of like, oof. This is what I don't like about NPC work orders still. They have improved it. Not going to argue, they've definitely improved it. But they still feel gross. 232 concentration for 2 knowledge points. It's 12 hours of like progress for 2 knowledge points. People do it. People do it. Let me grab a drink. Hang on. It's time for some brain juice. Brain juice. Brain juice. Wrath of Spear. Ocean of the Reborn Cheetah. Kaboom. Route of Shocking Revelations. Okay, we're really struggling via wild experimentation. Get much of anything. Which was kind of how it was from the word go. Do I start suggesting people put points in these sub-specs? Because every time you put like, the discovery system is naturally against you until you have sort of specced into something. Is increase the chance to discover recipes that use this herb. If all of the recipes are known, instead you will gain +1 maximum potion yield when experimenting this herb. This is the clever mechanic that's going to keep you pressing your experimentation button even after you have learned everything. I want to experiment to unlock as many of the recipes as possible. Flasks are going to let you fill the bar. Flasks are going to let you fill the bar quickly, but at a cost. What's that potion called? I mean, this is where we need to do a bit of testing. Because I don't think potions give you skill quite as far. I think wild experimentation possibly has internal diminishing returns on it, but I'm probably crazy. No, it's definitely weighted to give you a handful of recipes quickly. I don't think you're that crazy. I think the focus is for you to switch quite quickly to meticulous experimentation and do this once a day. let's just assume that if you get a flask recipe, how far can we go with then just crafting flasks? Like, a lot of them. 36, 37, 38, 9, 40. Okay, see, potion has started to go. All the potions. Okay, all the potions get nuked at skill 40 onwards. So you, in essence, are going to fish until you get a flask. And then make that flask a lot. Is how it feels to me. Depending on if these vials go further. Vial of True Sight. Okay. Also not a bad one. $45, anything change? Not particularly. Skill 50. Boom. Okay, now even the vials have gone dead. So yeah, you want to just fish for a flask, don't you? Fish for a flask. That's unfortunately the way you go. This will let you to continue to experiment without cooldowns. The recipe goes yellow at skill 30, green at skill 32, grey at 35. Now you'll want to experiment to unlock as many recipes as possible. You will want to fish until unlock a flask. Flasks are going to let you fill the bar quickly, but at a cost. And can take this all the way skill 100, I believe. We'll test that in a minute. Would it be worth just to unlock the transmute tree and not spend any points in it as it goes up to 50? Then from there, craft 50 to 60 vials. Skill 100, then spend knowledge points in the respective tree for where you want to go. Well, that's a very slow and steady approach. Form acts of thaumaturgy. I'm already sort of considering that there's two paths to success with alchemy. The way I'm writing it up in the guide is that like from skill you got to get to skill 25 anyway. Once you've hit skill 25, you then have two options. If it's going to be your main alchemist, the one who's going to learn all of the recipes and sell flasks, potions, you go this route. There'll be that second route if you're going for blasphemites, where you might go the transmute route. How do you even get storm dust if all the professions only make... well, literally, world drop greens. There's millions of the damn things whilst you're leveling. Yeah, there's going to be plenty of storm dust about, don't worry. you're saying use the transmute option to get from skill 25 to 50 instead of making a bunch more flasks. Is 25 thaumaturgy crafts gonna cost more or less than going the alchemical mastery route? Not sure. It's something we'll try. We'll try that next. We'll try that as an alternative. But it feels like once you've got a flask, just make it. Keep making it. Any thaumaturgies, 20 materials, you're going to get some mats back as well. 500 of an item. You might be right. You might be right. Overproducing quality 1 flasks at the cost of null lotuses might not be cheap. We'll try that next. Let me keep going and see if there's any choke points 50 plus that we should worry about. Yeah, because thaumaturgy's gone grey already at 58. So 50 plus, you've got to go flasks, haven't you? Yeah, getting to 50 might be easier going the unlocking thaumaturgy first. As long as you don't have to spend any points in that tree, you're probably right. Meticulous experimentation is still guaranteed at 60. PvP flasks have gone yellow, so you're going to need traditional flasks. God, there's going to be a lot of rank 1 flasks knocking about in there. They're going to be... $78, $79. Wonder when the cauldrons change, actually. Oh, that's an interesting choke point. 80. Your transmutation stop guaranteeing skill points. Even if you're going... Okay. This is looking less likely, as if there might be 2 routes, actually. Wow, this is a lag spike and a half. Holy shit. Are we disconnected? I think we're dead. We're dead. We killed it. We killed it. Do you think it'd be a good time to return to sort of prepare for the war within? I've been pestered a few times to do a sort of a preparation video. I always struggle with these because I don't really think there's that much to prepare for. Because an expansion is just a complete change, right? Sure, clean your bags out, sell your old mats. Now's more of a time, if you're going to come back and play some World of Warcraft, now is more of a time to level up some alts. Because you are going to want as many of them as you can get your hands on in the war within. Wait, I'm back at skill 40. Oh my god. Okay. That was like a full server rollback. Sheesh. Oh, I'm glad I wasn't testing anything particularly. You're at 40 and my character isn't found. Yeah, that was borderline full-on rollback, that was. Somebody feed those hamsters over at Blizzard HQ. They're dying. Yeah, I think you guys are right. I think get to 20, hack your way to 25 ASAP. Unlock thaumaturgy, do that to 50. Then go alchemical mastery, 30 points. Fish for a flask, craft flask to 100, win. I think that's realistically the only way you're going to go. You're going to do that nearly regardless to what your end goal is. I think. Although, that said, if your goal is to create blasphemites, you are unlikely to want to have put 30 points in here. So there is still technically 2 paths that alchemists might want to take, depending on what their end goal of the alchemist is. If the alchemists, because you're going to be super tight on knowledge points if you go the thaumaturgy route anyway, because you got 55 points you want to put in here, you got a good 100+ points you want to spend on this ASAP. Or you're doing much else. So you really are not going to want to go this route. The Thaumaturgy alts are going to have to pray to RN Jesus. They're going to have to play the cooldown game. The Thaumaturgy alchemists are going to have to play the cooldown game. You're going to have to just experiment and meticulous experiment. Play the cooldown game. If you hit a cooldown, fuck you. And you're going to have to fish for a flask, slow and steady. You're still going to want to fish for that flask. Get the cooldown, log on to the next one. Yeah, probably. Because you are not going to want to spend 30 points unlocking. And it's of no real benefit to you. Because you don't need all of the potions, you don't need all of the flasks, you just need this bar filled. So your priority is to keep your experimentation on cooldown until you get a flask, then craft it to 100, and then make blasphemites until your eyes bleed. Yeah, okay. Right, let's get a solid write-up for that then. Let's tweak this a touch. Your first spec 3 unlock needs to be thaumaturgy. Need this recipe to unlock to reach skill 50. Skill 25 to 50. 25 times thaumaturgy crafts. Does this stay orange all the way to 50? In terms of guaranteed skill points. 43, 44, 45, yep. Does it then instantly go grey at 50? Yeah, instant. It goes from orange to grey, like boom. Okay. 25 thaumaturgy crafts. Is there a suggested material to use for this? What's 20 times 25? Is that 500? Yeah. 500 of your cheapest rank 1 material. Use 500 of the cheapest rank 1 material for this. Can we take an estimated guess on what the cheapest rank 1 material will be?
Both, I hope.
Not really, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Illithorn with a prime. Thank you very much. Welcome in. Thank you, thank you. Dragonflight experimentation drove me nuts. Well, I'll get used to it, because both alchemy and engineering use this discovery system this time round. Quick question, does enchanting have any enchants that are only for enchanters? Not to my knowledge, no. Say cloth, typically it drops the most. Well, yeah, I would have said that if it wasn't for the fact that cloth doesn't drop for normies now. You have to be a tailor for cloth to drop currently. Which might impact its actual cost. Weaver cloth is the main cloth. I'm only reporting on as it is currently. I don't know if that's intended. I don't know if it's a bug, but Weaver cloth doesn't drop for normies. I would imagine maybe it will be one of the leathers, or rank 1 bismuth, or rank 1 mycobloom. I don't think it's going to matter really too much. Use 500 of the cheapest rank 1 material for this. Mycobloom or bismuth are possible option. Yeah. Skill 50 plus. Unlock alchemical mastery spec and spend 30 points. Will teach you formulated courage. This will let you continue experimentation without cooldowns. Now want to experiment to unlock as many of the recipes as possible. You'll want a fish to unlock a flask. Flasks are going to let you skill. Let you skill all the way to skill 100. Okay. That's an easy path to victory with alchemy then, if you're going to actually just craft shit. If you go in the blasphemite route, your option is a little bit more limited. Does that make sense to people? Does that make sort of sense, knowing what we've now seen? So you make some healing potions at the beginning, because we're going to break them down for research. We're going to want to do experimentation as often as possible in the early skill levels, because we need to reach skill 25 to unlock a tree in the first place. You should be able to guarantee a skill point for almost any new craft that you learn. You'll want to craft one of every new item for the first time craft bonuses anyway. This should help you reach skill 25 even if you go on cooldown. At skill 25 plus, I would highly suggest flying around collecting your 8 one-time treasures. These will provide 24 knowledge points, 120 artisan security. You can find their locations later on in this guide. You will also need these knowledge points to speed your way. No, I don't know. That's just extra text for the sake of extra text. Skill 25 plus, option 1 for your main alchemists. What the Christ is going on behind me here? Unlock the thaumaturgy tree. Do it until you hit skill 50. Then unlock the alchemical mastery tree. Spend your 30 points to get formulated courage. Fish for a flask, craft flask, win. That makes sense. The alternative path for those who do blasphemites is going to be unlock blasphemites. Keep cooldown on your keep your experimentation on cooldown whilst you fish for a flask. Spend all knowledge points in thaumaturgy tree. Okay. Is there not any utilization we can make from these things via leveling? I don't think there is at all, is there? It's probably worth noting that if you get any work orders for flasks, do them. It might be cheaper. But then you don't have a flask to sell. I don't know. Yeah, I don't even think NPC work orders are worth paying any attention to for alchemists. NPC orders never provide all the mats. This is very random. There's still too much random for me with all of this. So I have seen them provide all materials, but very infrequently. And a lot of the orders are still buggy and broken. Such as I've seen orders that say they give you all the reagents, and then you go and fill the order and it doesn't work because it claims it doesn't have a reagent. So they're clearly still a bit busted and a bit broken, but okay. Right, the ult that's going for blasphemite.
Let's make sweet, sweet profit together.
Hang on, can I... What's going on here? What is this? What are you lot pissing about with? Who put a barrel of fireworks, like, right here? Shut up. Thanks. Non-fries with a prime. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Oh, I could do with some fries. NPC work orders can reward us with a new recipe, so it might be worth checking them. I don't think that there's only a select number of recipes that NPC work orders can give you. Alchemy, as it currently stands, doesn't have anything that can come from NPC work orders. I spent 600 rank 2 Aratha Spear to unlock a single potion. Wild experimentation, 10,000% has diminishing returns on it. Well, yeah, like I mentioned, if you look at the spec tree, if you haven't put any knowledge points into Aratha Spear, you might just get hard gimped on what you can research with it. Increase the chance to discover recipes that use this herb. All of the recipes are known. Gain +1 to maximum potion yield when experimenting. And I suspect the more points you put into this, the more likely it is to give you recipes. But if you are an alchemist that is going the route of crafting flasks and potions for people, you are going to put points in here relatively quickly. I'm testing what 1,000 herbs will get you with and without on new characters. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's smart. This looks a lot like Dragonflight crafting system. Is this for the War Within? Yeah, they've just copy-pasted most of it. If you played in Dragonflight, you'll have a good understanding of where you're going. Okay. So, let me just quickly fix something. Oh, you're the one. You.
For something special?
Mm, 57. That put me back to like normality. No, vials. 56. Oh no, shit, what? Wait, hang on. What? Going on here? Why can't I buy 50 of them?
Too expensive.
What? Oh, they only flipping gold left. Oh, stupid game.
Ancestors watch over.
Why do they make shit on these vendors cost so much?
Greetings, traveler.
Okay, that's put me back to default state.
May the eternal
Okay, so let's see how that feels then when we go. Oh, I've just realised. Your spectries stay the same, don't they? Oh well, okay, it's fine. Is raid loot soulbound or warbound or soulbound? It'll all be soulbound. Bind on pickup main enchanter should be specialized in blowing up disenchanting items. It's one route you can go. I can't imagine there's going to be all that much raid loot that you're going to be willing to blow up with disenchanting. This is the thing, right? Epic gear usually gets equipped. There's usually very little of it that's getting deleted. This tends to be why crystals end up being so expensive at the beginning. Because there's not many candidates for epic gear to be disenchanted in the first place. Is there a compiled list somewhere of all of the one-time knowledge point sources? I hope finishing reagents actually get used in alchemy this time around. Finishing reagents feel odd. They feel weird because they don't actually seem to have any value at all ever. Like the cost versus benefit that they give you just doesn't make sense. You're often spending like 15, 20, 30 gold per craft extra to use a finishing reagent on it for like 1.5% resourcefulness. You're just not going to do that. The cost of the item would have to be literally thousands of gold for that to ever even be slightly potential for you to use. This is the issue with finishing reagents. They only come into play on stupidly expensive crafted items. And even then, most people forget they exist, which is weird. Flasks, you might consider using something on a flask. Multicraft, for example, you might use these petal powders, increasing multicraft by 20, which is the equivalent of 2%. If you're crafting enough, that extra 2% might be helpful, as long as quality 3 petal powders don't cost ludicrous amounts to make in the first place. Here they look to be pretty cheap, but if you can't guarantee them at quality 3 very easily, it becomes less likely even. I don't know. Yeah, finishing reagents have always felt odd. I've almost never bothered with them, and never felt as if I'm missing out by not bothering with them. I did the maths for the reagents in Dragonflight and they were just never worth it for the cost of the materials. Yeah, this is it. It's that fine line. It's that balance. Which is why I tend to think that they should jack up the usefulness of these. Like, giving 10 multicraft, what's the point? That's 1% multicraft. Nobody cares. Give it like 5% or something. At the very least, 10% additional multicraft. Make it worthwhile people use these. And you'll build a market around them. They buffed the shit out of them, you'd probably use them. But nobody cares about an extra 1%. So let's test this then. We were going to hack and slash our way by making healing potions at the beginning. Up till about skill 10, which we then break them down pretty much straight after. RNG on top of RNG is the epitome of how I find WoW crafting. Well, it is if you only do stuff in small quantities. Random's only random until you can figure out the average. Once you know the average, you can, you know, base your maths around the average. Wow, it really doesn't want to give us that 10th skill point, does it? Holy shit. Where's this 10th skill point? Hello? Game? Okay, at this point I'm starting to think it's broken. There it is. Sheesh. More down. How's concentration played out overall versus inspiration? Do you think it's better overall? Oh, miles better. Absolutely miles better. There's It's almost different league. Inspiration was never balanced correctly. This was the problem. Inspiration has its place as more of a luck mechanic. If you were to have it a very low percentage, like maximum 5%, it has place. It has value as a luck modifier. Ramping it up to 30, 40 plus percent, and it also doubling your skill out of nowhere, it was so broken from the word go. So inspiration was like, if it was balanced correctly, would have been much better, but it was way broken. And with it being way broken, it trumped everything else in its usefulness, which killed a lot of the profession system in Dragonflight. Plus, the level of randomness it introduced to everybody was horrible. So, concentration being deterministic, you know how much of it you've got, you know how much of it you're going to spend, you can either choose to use it or not. Much, 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 much better. Much, much better. Plus, concentration adds on this magical way of there being 2 crafting costs for everything. There's the cheap but limited craft way, and there's the expensive but unlimited craft way. So it'll have quite an interesting impact on market prices for stuff eventually as well. Concentration much, much, much better. Experiment, experiment, experiment. Do I want to make a suggestion for what people should be experimenting with? I'm thinking Blessing Blossom is the best thing to focus your experimentation on early days. The only reason I say this, because Blessing Blossom is widely available in the first zone. Isle of Dawn. Blessing Blossom, you can fly around and pick up a bunch of this. It's the uncommon herb, but it's the uncommon herb that I suspect might be the cheapest. Which, doing experimentation... Oh, well, the mushroom doesn't count. Myco Bloom doesn't count, because it's trash for finding stuff. Yes, you're right. You can get Myco Bloom everywhere. Just like you get bismuth everywhere. But for early experimentation, I think Blessing Blossom is the way to go. Now, it's very interesting to me. I got Slumbering Soul Serum again straight away. That was the first one I got last time as well. Flask of Alchemical Chaos. Well, there's our flask craft. Boom. Is there a way to copy bindings from retail to beta? When you do the copy character, there's a separate button to press. Next to the copy account data, there's a copy key bindings button. You fish a flask at this point, it's GG, isn't it, really? Alright, we got to get to skill 25 either way. I think you probably want to use... Do you want to use Blessing Blossom? And if you proc a flask, just like GG, well played. If you proc a flask, just go back to using Myco Bloom because it'll be so much cheaper. As at this point, you were just doing it for skill points anyway. If you proc a flask, GG. Another flask. Okay. 17, we went boom. We got meticulous experimentation. $18, it put us on cooldown. Aim is to use wild experimentation to reach skill 25. You should be able to guarantee a skill point from almost any new craft that you learn. You'll want to craft one of every new item for the first time craft bonuses anyway. This should help you reach 25 even if you go on cooldown. I suggest using... What did I say I suggest we use? Blessing Blossom. Not even sure if this is smart. Maybe just going cheap and cheerful is the best option at this point. Quality 1 Myco Bloom. Cheap and cheerful. Keep your costs down. Keep your costs to an absolute minimum until you unlock a flask, because it's going to get expensive. Or cheapest green herb until you lock a flask. Yeah. This flipping crack. Thank you for all you do for the community. It means a lot. I appreciate it, Drizzly Rose. Thank you. I'm still not sure if using higher quality herbs at this point is really worthwhile, considering you can proc flasks using Myco Bloom. My question is if the flasks you then proc are going to be the shit ones that you don't want. Crit, mastery, haste, verse. What flasks are people actually going to want predominantly? Saving Graces. Directly healing an ally player that is below 25% health grants 15% increased healing done for 10 seconds. That's the healer flask. Healer flask. I'm not convinced that even healers are going to use those. Or maybe they will. And then Flask of Alchemical Chaos. Drink to increase a random secondary stat by a bunch at the cost of 293 of 2 other secondary stats. These effects are randomized again every 30 seconds. I don't think players are going to like the random of that either. Players will often take less of something if it's deterministic than the chance of something more if it's random. Sims will probably tell people that Alchemical Chaos is not the flask to use. Sims will probably say Saving Graces is not the flask to use. So whilst this one is currently balanced to be cheaper in crafting cost, this 8 of all of these, sheesh. Yeah, I don't even know which flasks people are going to use. The secondary stat ones are the best. Deterministic, verse, mastery, haste, crit. Just simple, straight up, boom. Verse. Verse for progress. Chaos Flask improves the tempered potion. Gain the effect of all inactive tempered flasks. Wait, hold up. Gain the effect of all inactive tempered flasks, increasing their associated secondary stats by a shitload. Could be BIS for some. So you have your Chaos Flask on the go, and then you use tempered potions, and it just basically gives you all secondary stats for 30 seconds, and you go burr. So maybe that might end up being the play for people. Okay. I'm just sort of trying to think here that if you proc a flask, is it, you know, are you hunting for certain... I mean, you're going to want all of them anyway, but like... Saving Graces is probably the... Don't know, it depends how flipping expensive these Null Lotuses are going to be. Anytime you're making a flask, it's going to be expensive. What I'm trying to do here is trying to figure out that if there's going to be something that, if you know, if you're going 50 to 100 making flasks, you're going to be making 50 flasks. What you don't want is to take those 50 flasks and put them in the bin. What you would really like is to at least be able to sell them for something. And whilst fishing for a flask is what you definitely need to do, because you need a flask recipe to get from 50 to 100. Is there one that you should sort of like be more focused on, or is there a trap one? Saving Graces is going to be cheaper because it uses less herbs, but if you then have to put them all in the bin, it's still not worthwhile. But maybe I'm trying to dive into this a little bit too min-maxy here for the sake of a leveling guide. Maybe getting a vial first up to about skill 65 or so will be better because it won't cost the Null Lotus. That's also possibility, yes. Minus the Null Lotus, it will make these substantially cheaper. Down on Null Lotus. Yeah, I've not done much herbing and mining, but I'm already led to believe that you might only get one Null Lotus for every 100 of another herb that you get. So on that sort of ratio, you can assume that Null Lotuses could be a couple of thousand gold a piece each quite easily early in the expansion. You know, if you're... And the fact that they don't have skill, they don't have quality. The fact that there's no quality on them, that means a Null Lotus is just a Null Lotus. It means you could get one on a very unskilled herbalist. I don't know. I'm not sure what my conclusion is with that. Yeah, I'm still thinking rank 1 Mycobloom is the play for this early experimentation. I mean, I can't do that yet. Oh. All the herbers are going to find a Null Lotus. Yeah, well, they're not going to be cheap. They're really not. I do tend to go the cheapest route possible when putting leveling guides together. Because I tend to think it's, or this is my logic anyway, that you want to fill the bar for the least gold cost possible. When it comes to things like crafting one of everything for first time crafts, you can always go back once you've filled the bar and craft one of everything. Because by the time you've filled the bar, there's a chance that you might be able to make that one thing that you craft for a first time craft bonus. You might all of a sudden be able to make it at higher quality, and you might not put it straight in the bin. This is always my kind of logic, so I try to avoid suggesting players just craft one of everything. When Dragonflight launched, I saw lots of leveling guides out there that just quite simply said, yep, craft one of everything. And whilst it worked, it was usually significantly more expensive to do it that way. You can also use Bottled Brilliance, and you then have 75% chance of gaining a skill point on those green crafts. True. Bottled Brilliance is engineering, methinks. If you really get stuck in a sticky situation, you can play the RNG route there. Is Bottled Brilliance an engineering thing? I'm pretty sure it is. Can't remember what they cost to craft. I remember looking at them and going, nah. I can't remember why. So you hit skill 25. We've kind of broken down the best path of action there. I'm still going to recommend using Quality 1 Myco Bloom. Bonus notes. Bonus notes. What you this process, very RNG, but consider yourself lucky if you proc a flask or a file recipe. You'll need later reach skill. Okay. I'm starting to write paragraphs of text here, which is less user-friendly for guides. Then we do 25 thaumaturgies. We take 500 of a material and we just smush it. Are we going to say that we just smush Myco Bloom? I reckon we do, you know.
What do you want?
Give me some more Myco Bloom. Smush a bunch of this. We do it 25 times. This technique may yield new discoveries, but is highly destructive. Oh shit, whoa, hold the fucking phone. Weaver cloth. Okay. I forgot this stuff spits out extra things. Bismuth. It's unlikely to be a thing, but there's part of me that has definitely considered the option of the thaumaturgy itself being something yeah, you got to put 20 herbs in it. But when it spits out 9 storm dust, right? It's incredibly possible that this button makes gold in the first place. It's going to be very random. But who doesn't love a bit of random, obviously? Not to mention you then have ominous transmutagen to use later. Dust is worth it. But yeah, dust will often be 10 to 12 gold a piece. It would be a good way to dump your concentration. I'm not sure I'd consider it a good way to dump your concentrate. It will be a way. Taking 20... What you would probably do there is you would eventually, on that note, just very quickly, you would probably take quality 2 materials, concentrate to get it to spit out quality 3 materials. But it's going to be very random in what it spits out. Yeah, there's part of me that still isn't convinced that it would be a great option. But it will be an option. Yeah, if you're going the fully transmute route, you're probably not going to be making many potions or flasks anyway, because you won't have the skill to do it properly. So maybe. Maybe if you go that route, you may not have many other options, honestly. $48, skill 49. Skill 50. Don't say spits out. Because all I now hear is hock to... Oh, well, yeah. Then we go into our chemical mastery. We unlock this. We go boom, formulated courage. We then continue to research, proc a flask, make lots of flasks. Honestly, 500 Hockenbloom, not Hocken. Haha, see, my brain is still stuck in Dragonflight. It's not Hockenbloom, it's Mycobloom. 500 rank 1 Mycobloom to spit out 100 Storm Dust, 76 Weaver Cloth, and a bunch of Bismuth. That's what? Quick maths, 250. As long as these are worth more than the Mycobloom, you're good to go. That won't have actually cost you a penny. Not to mention you then have ominous transmutagen to play around with later. I think concentration for gear crafting, and I think the recharge is fine. It fits very well for those professions that make crafted gear. I do not think concentration has a place in bulk crafting professions, and that's where I think inspiration can come back, but that's just me. What you got to remember that you will still be able to guarantee flasks, potions, whatever, at top quality without the use of concentration completely. So the mass crafters out there will still be able to press craft all, buy materials, press craft all, and make a shitload of something. Like, it doesn't hinder their ability to do that. The caveat of those players doing that, though, the limitation is going to be that those players are going to have a higher crafting cost when they do it that way. It allows for people to come in and use concentration and cheaper materials, but they might only be able to make like 10 potions or something. That means those first 10 potions that somebody makes will be at a much cheaper cost, potentially. And they shouldn't have any issue selling them, and they get that small amount of profit each and every time they do that. The players will, over time, be able to slowly but consistently convert concentration into gold. But they're kind of capped on how much of an influence they can have on the overall economy doing it that way. Mass crafters can still stand and make rank 3 potions, flasks all day long and sell them at 2% margin, like happens today. Min-max multi-craft, min-max resourcefulness to like keep their prices as low as possible. But, you know, little Jimmy, who just plays his professions relatively casually, will still be able to press the craft button and make some gold. Whereas in Dragonflight, with inspiration, you basically had a scenario where unless you were min-maxed to the hills, you stood no chance of making anything at a profit whatsoever. Little Jimmy comes in and drops the price by 15 gold on a potion. Yeah, but he'll only have 10 potions to sell. So somebody will come along and go, all right, well, I'll buy Little Jimmy's potions and I'll resell them back at market price. It serves... It allows Little Jimmy to come in and make a small amount of gold relatively quickly and then go away. And, you know, the big goblins can still sit there selling stuff, crafting stuff all day if they wish. And it'll be, in a way, it'll be easier for big-time crafters as well to determine what they should be crafting and what they shouldn't be crafting. Because if there's a significant oversupply of one potion or one flask, if the entire demand for an item is met by multiple Little Jimmies, if all the Little Jimmies come along and they, with their 10 potions each, can actually still flood the market, then the price of that potion is going to consistently stay below what its guaranteed crafting cost would be. And so the big time goblins will be able to quickly see that and go, right, well, I don't need to focus my efforts making loads of these because that's a saturated market already. It's actually really quite clever. I just hope that it doesn't completely tank into the ground. And this is why concentration matters. Because if Little Jimmy can come along and craft too much, then it doesn't take many Little Jimmies to saturate a market. This is where the balance needs to be. This is why I think they've jacked up the recipe difficulty of a lot of these. Meaning if Little Jimmy strolls in, you know, and, you know, little Jimmy might stroll in and have a really bad time making more than a handful of flasks at top quality. But if you choose to spec into making these really well, you know, this bar moves much further up this way. And then it may not use 1 billion concentration per craft. It's all quite clever. It lets people who want to, like, dabble make a little bit of gold and still see worth doing it, but it also doesn't then step on the toes that really enjoy this playstyle and, you know, focus on being the best alchemist or the best blacksmith at something. It's far more tailored to that, like, specialist mindset that they wanted with professions. It's quite cool. Okay, I'm pretty sure at this point then, I've kind of figured out what the leveling paths are for alchemy. Even though it is discovery based, there is a path you can weave to get there, to get there properly. Now let's look at simulating what life looks like for, like, the I want to craft everything, I want to sell everything alchemist. in like the first couple of weeks. So we've spent 30 knowledge points in here. Wait, hold up. Why did it let me learn that when I've only got 50 skill points? I got... Oh, because I... What's going on there? I don't know. Right, just make 50 of these. Go. So let's assume we've done everything in our power. Fill the bar. We fill the bar. We spent 30 points in our spectry. We're a sweaty go sweaty player. We've got about 70 more points to spend. Where do we spend them? Simulating that sort of work, that sort of week 1 alchemist that's doing enough to try and unlock shit. So we have a Ranthius. Wow. Yeah. Didn't realise that. Will there be an advantage to having different alchemists early on, e.g. having a potion alchemist, a vial alchemist, and then a thaumaturgy one? Yeah, most definitely. If you want to do this 3 times, yeah, most definitely. That's the same with nearly all of the professions. They've kind of done a much better job in the War Within of like segregating the specializations. So like jewel crafting, for example, you're gonna have prospecting spec jewel crafters. You're gonna have like gem cutting spec jewel crafters, and their paths don't cross very well. So like a jewel crafter that's specialized in cutting gems will probably need to buy their gems off that prospecting spec jewel crafter. It won't be such that they can like basically do everything, which was kind of a little bit too easy to achieve in Dragonflight. It will still end up that way because you can still fill your knowledge trees and be the jack of all trades, but it should be less viable, or not as viable quite so quickly to be the jack of all trades. Oh, flasks go... Do all flasks go green at 90 plus? They do. Maybe your last few points are your meticulous experimentation, so you don't mass produce too many flasks. Because at this point, we can see here, you're not churning them out at very high quality, even if you're using max quality components. Come on. Skill 100, please. There we go. Boom. $225 points plus crafted gear is needed to min-max potions. Hang on, let me read what did you say before. I worry about the little Jimmy thing. I'm also worried about alt armies coming in and rotating concentration on a mass scale. Come tier 2. When they have all of their alts sorted out, which like we have now is not even able to make a profit due to the ceiling being so low for them. Well, crafting is always, like, this is the thing, right? Crafting always goes through that phase. Crafting goes up and down, right? Crafting is usually something that's violently profitable at the very beginning of an expansion. Then it crashes and burns incredibly quickly. And then comes back up again when a new patch launches. So crafting is very cyclical. Is that the right word? Probably not. But it has, you know, it has peak business times and pretty much coincides whenever a new raid launches. Crafting will always have a lot of viability then, but it also crashes out of existence very quickly as well. Which you may notice that a lot of sort of seasoned goblins will play crafting very heavily early season, and then they'll basically just stop crafting and they'll go do other things, maybe even go and play the game themselves, and then they'll come back and do a bunch more crafting again when there's a new patch. My worry is going to be that it will stay low due to people being able to use rank 2 mats, whilst the smaller guy has to use rank 3 mats for guaranteed rank 3 in maxi stuff. Yeah, but like I said, that's supply and demand, right? If the goblins out there, if the players playing with professions supply too much, if they supply more than the demand needs, then prices go down. And if the demand, you know, that should be the indication to play. Like, this is why there are many occasions where crafting something is a bad choice, because there's already too much of a thing. This is what plagued Dragonflight very heavily, because Dragonflight painted the professions. It's like, it was the profession revamp was like a headline piece of Dragonflight, right? We had dragon riding, we had the new crafting profession, and then obviously we had all of the other stuff we had. But it was like a big thing, and it advertised a lot of people to go try crafting. And all of those people that stepped in and tried crafting pumped the market way more than it was ever needed. And so prices tanked like a rock. I don't think in the War Within there'll be anywhere near as many people that play with professions, because a lot of them will have played with them in Dragonflight and gone, nope, you're alright with that. I'll let the goblins do that. I'll just buy the shit I need when I need it. You know, there'll be people out there that won't get burnt twice. If they spend hours of effort and hundreds of thousands of gold leveling up professions in Dragonflight, then only to make no gold from it whatsoever, you can bet your ass they won't do the same again in the War Within. So we'll see. Imagine playing the game. Crazy, right? Imagine actually playing the game. Who would do such a crazy thing? So let's assume we want to go big dick into flask crafting. Flasks is where I suspect the money is. We're going to have about 70 to 100 points that we can quickly pick up. We put 30 points in here to get ourselves going. Let's say we have 70 more points to spend to try and be constructive at doing something. We want to make this flask of alchemical chaos as effectively as possible. We, at the moment, let's assume our budget is unlimited and we can use best quality components wherever possible. At this point, we are still miles away from being able to guarantee them at quality 3. So we would need to hunt down ways to improve this. Does 70 points get us even remotely close? We get 40 points from up here. That still means we need to get to 700 difficulty. That's an outrageous amount. So let's say we're going to go into flasks. If we put 30 points in flasks, what does that equate to? Improve your ability to craft flasks of various types, gaining 2 skill per point in this spec. Are there any bonuses across here in terms of skill? No. So that's 2 times 30, which is 60 points. You're going to go flasks, you're going to put 30 points in here very quick. There's no doubt about that. That's another 60 skill in here. So now we're pushing the bar further. I would then probably say bulk production or filling this one. Bulk production, improve your ability to craft flasks and vials in bulk, gaining multi-craft per point. Whenever you craft flasks, gain flasks spillover. Grants resourcefulness, stacks. So you want to unlock that, if nothing else. Do you really want to put points in it, though? No. This is probably the last place you put points into it. This is your min-maxi optimal. You would go, yeah, more points into here. These are +1 skill. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need points in all of them then, don't we? The only one we don't want to put points in is Myco Bloom, because it doesn't use it. Is the choke points in here? Do we want to spread our points out evenly, or do we want to min-max the crap out of one of them first? Does this have... What's the weighting on these materials? 450. 450. 450. 450. So the material weighting is the same for all of these. +3 skill at 15 points. +5 skill. Okay, you kind of want to put 15 points into each of these equally to get here on each of these first. There's no flat skill to be obtained over here. Multi-craft, sub-spec. Oh, flat skill at the end there. So another 20 points actually gives us another 30 points. That's 1.5 skill per point. We put 15 points into here. Okay, so you still want to fill this one first. That's still the most lucrative use of your points. So you put 50 points in here, 60, 70, 80 points in here. You don't really have a lot more to play with now. And you are still miles off making these quality 3 guaranteed. You are closer with some of the other flasks though, because their difficulty is lower. That's interesting, you know. Are we assuming that this alchemical chaos flask is really going to be worth the effort? Don't know. Starting the new expansion with 3 to 4 million for the first time ever. Do you think it's enough to make a solid profit with crafting professions, or should I stick to gathering? I mean, if you are willing to spend that gold on leveling your professions up fast, then yeah. Let me put it this way: you're a bit of a fool if you can't make money with crafting professions at the beginning of an expansion. As long as you pick something and go and be very good at that thing, there'll be money, there'll be gold to be made, for sure. What's that 3 to 4 million gold going to do for you otherwise? It's just sat there. If it's not doing anything, you might as well spend it on professions. Is my take, at least. It really is very hard to not make profit with professions at the beginning of an expansion. Because it's just simply crafting things and putting them on the auction house. Markets don't stabilize for probably about the first 4 weeks. And the reason that it works is because most people aren't doing it. Most people don't want to mess around with professions at the beginning. Most people are spending all their time grinding reps, then the season comes out and they're in Mythic Plus dungeons and they're trying to kill the raid. Most people's focus is on anything else but professions. Especially after Dragonflight, when so many people will just have a sour taste in their mouth about the professions. Well, I'm not doing that again. It was stupid in Dragonflight. No, they'll just buy their stuff off the auction house. They won't have a clue how much it costs to make things. Flasks are essentially the same skill, point spend and materials needed. Well, the Alchemical Chaos one is much higher, and it's going to demand far more overall specialization. But you are ultimately looking to get good at something first. That uses all 4. Blessing Blossom. Lure Drop, Orbinid, Blessing Blossom, Spear. Blessing Blossom, Lure Drop, Orbinid, Spear. So yeah. Whatever really, innit? Blessing Blossom's probably a good candidate to start with. Because Blessing Blossom is at least used in haste. Which, let me remind you, everybody is haste starved at the beginning of an expansion. It's also used in mastery. Haste, mastery, saving graces, and obviously, ultimately, alchemical chaos. So if you're going to spend points anywhere, Blessing Blossom's probably a good start. And then you're going to throw 25 points in it. You may now sometimes recover flasks as a result of experimenting with Blessing Blossom as well. Which also might be way worth your time putting points into. Simply for the freebies that you might get, especially if Blessing Blossom ends up being the cheaper herb as it comes from the first zone. It's just very random speculation there. I'm from not much testing, I seem to feel Blessing Blossom turns up more often than not. It's much higher because it has more materials, but it falls under the same skill category of the other 4 haste, crit, mastery, verse. Rank 3 mats, 290 points, crafting gear, sprinkle in a few race 2 mats if you're race for goblinry stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun to see though that the only rank 3 flasks you're going to see in existence for the first patch are pretty aggressively going to be require concentration. Because let's say I'm at skill 509. Yeah. Let's say I've unlocked all the flasks, which I haven't. 40 points up here. So it's going to put me about 500 here. Which means I'm going to have to make up the difficulty with concentration. Even using top quality components over here. At what point do we think it's worthwhile putting 25 points in bulk production? Flask spillover. Flask spillover grants 3 resourcefulness for each craft. Stacks up to 5 times. Maximum stacks up to 10. 30 resourcefulness or 3% resourcefulness bonus. How desperate are you going to be for a 3% resourcefulness bonus? Increases the effectiveness of resourcefulness by 5% when crafting flasks or vials. That's big. That's plus 8% then by that point. Increases the effectiveness of flask spillover by 50% when crafting flasks. Does it max out at the equivalent of like 10%? I'm just wondering how early you put your full 25 points in here. You wouldn't necessarily prioritize multi-craft over flat skill. But if you're in the world of concentration for quite some time, meaning you're going to be limited to how many times you can press the button every day, quite a while.
Is that your wallet?
Then maybe stacking that
glad to
extra
see me.
resourcefulness and
Both,
multi-craft
I hope.
to optimize the limited amount of times you can press the button every day anyway. It's going to be really weird, you know. I wonder how normalized it's going to be that people will just pick up and use quality 2 shit. Because it will be astronomically cheaper. Lul31, thank you very much for the prime. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Rank 3 potion flasks are going to be entirely based off concentration until people can get the skill points needed. Oh yeah, yeah. There's not going to be a single rank 3 potion or flask in existence that hasn't had somebody use concentration on it. Even the people like hyper focusing on crafting them are going to need max quality materials, which will be expensive, and a boatload of concentration. If you look at the scenario of somebody cheaping out and trying to use quality 2 materials, I mean, I still think these numbers are a touch broken. I don't think these numbers have been rebalanced since they changed concentration. But if you use quality 2 materials, even after heavily specializing into flasks, you're not making more than a handful of these, like, every day. How's that going to work with this bonus, with your flask spillover? Stacking up to 5 times, stacking up to 10 times. That means you don't even have your maximum flask spillover buff until you've pressed the button 10 times. Are you going to make... Are you going to sacrifice 10 rank 1 versions of it just to get a buff? To then... So, what you might do here... You might do this 10 times, look. Using cheap materials. Stack this buff. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you stack your buff, then you switch to using your best components and use concentration. To min-max your secondary stats for whilst you use concentration. Then you craft as much as you can and pray to RNGesus you get procs on these. And then your concentration is burnt, you're done, GG. That's what you do using a full 1000 concentration. You make 25 quality 1 and then 12 quality 3. Now, was that buff going to be worthwhile making 25 almost throwaways? Begin with. Nope. Not for flasks. Not for flasks. These will take you about half a second to sell as well, by the way. Let's just point that out. So that spillover buff, you're not going to care about the spillover buff as an alchemist until you are pretty much guaranteeing stuff. In fact, what you would do is you would craft the saving graces, because they'd be the cheapest to craft. Using the lowest quality materials, you craft saving graces to get your buff, then you switch to your big dick ones, use concentration, stack all of your bonuses, stack your, I don't know, stack your any seals that you've acquired, you stack everything to the hills when you're using concentration, and then you press the button a few times, and then you send these off to the auction house and you log off. You come back tomorrow when your concentrations come back again. I believe you can stack it with vials. Vials has a separate one. Vials, potions, and flasks all have separate spillovers. Does getting the early access give you an edge in professions? Oh yeah, absolutely, massively. We don't know what they're going to shave off for the early access, but I can't imagine there's going to be much. Yeah, I don't think stacking this buff is really going to make that much value to you. The cost of 25 throwaways is too expensive for a tiny little resourcefulness buff. Okay. And that, for reference, is with 90, 120, 145 points. Which is like a week 2 goal players. I'm simulating how we're going to go into the first raid, basically, here. Alchemists will be able to go into the first raid making a handful of max quality flasks per day. That's not a lot, is it? How much gold per concentration can we ask an average? Something like 10 to 20 gold for one. I have no idea. This is going to be something that the community will just kind of figure out when it goes live. Your prerogative as a crafter is to charge as much as possible. The prerogative of the buyer is to charge as little as possible. People will meet in the middle. I have no idea. Now, you'd make more if you had the profession tools. Obviously, I don't have the profession tools, because that would push this bar further, and that would reduce the amount of concentration needed. But even if you didn't have... There's also a good chance you won't have all of this here by this point either. You would still need to go in, and you'd need to say, right, I need 40 points in here. $40 points in the next one will get you a little bit further. Now you're getting a bonus hit because of here. So you're going to probably do Blessing Blossom first. Blessing Blossom and Spears. Your Mastery one. What requires haste? Lure Drop. Maybe going Lure Drop second is probably a better plan. But you gotta, your main focus is filling this tree as quick as you can. Now, by the time you've got these up here, you're at the point where you can guarantee quality 3 all of a sudden. And can start mass producing them. But another 80 points on top of what we had a minute ago is going to be another couple of weeks. It's going to be a few weeks into the raid. A month or so into the patch before players will be able to guarantee quality 3. Yeah, I'd say about 3 to 4 weeks. 4 weeks, I would suggest. I would guess. I guess about 4 weeks into the expansion. After the first month, people will start being able to guarantee things at quality 3. Without using concentration. And the point would then be is that even if they drop down to use quality 2 materials... You'll use quality 3 vials, I imagine. You'll drop down to using quality 2 herbs to make it cheaper. And then with another 40 points on here, this will drop down to about 70. You'll be able to press the button like 10 times still. It's going to make rank 3 potions and flasks absurdly expensive compared to Dragonflight, yes. Yes. Because they'll be aggressively limited. Like, there'll be a big price difference. Quality 1 and quality 2 will be, you know, at or around. We know how Alchemy plays out, right? Alchemy is the profession of, like, single-digit profit margins. So, rank 1 and rank 2 will probably be, like, around crafting cost, whatever crafting cost is. Quality 3, though, will be expensive. Because there'll just be a shortage of them. So they'll be expensive. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. And eventually you throw 40 points in there as well to complete the set. Now you've got, what's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 160, 210. 240, 50, 65. 265 points. 265 points, and you'll be at the stage where you're 265 points and you'll be guaranteeing top quality by then. Of the big dick ones. But the crafting cost of this will be quite high still, using max quality everything. That said, Null Lotus might still be the choke point. This might be the thing that makes them... These might be 200 gold. 500 gold, maybe. Let's say there's 500 gold of herbs here. It could still be 1,000 gold for your Null Lotus. So there still could be... Getting your Null Lotus at the most effective price could still be the goal there. Oh, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. You want to aim to make as much gold as possible? Would you go potions, vials, flasks, or transmutes? Whichever route the least people take, honestly. This is the thing. Those questions are almost impossible to answer because of how gold making works. If everybody goes and does transmutes, there might not be enough people to make flasks, and so hence the flasks will be expensive. If everybody goes and specs into flasks, there might not be enough people making potions, then potions are expensive. And we're gonna really see the effect of that in the War Within. Because there's no way for crafters to quickly fix a problem, right? Let's say on raid day, raid night, Tuesday, Wednesday, or even Saturday night, for example, when the demand really kicks in and everybody buys everything, you're not going to be able to have armies of alchemists or armies of goblins crafting things in the background resupplying all of this demand. No, shit will run out. Like, people will buy it all and it will run out, and there'll be nothing anybody can do about it. And this is where I think goblins are going to... Big goblins with deep pockets will make that happen. Buyouts will be ludicrous. You will have people coming along. Like, let's say, for example, there's the 7-day week. Let's just assume that Saturday is the big raiding day. People will be posting their potions during the week, and big goblins will just be like slowly buying them and stockpiling them, so that when the demand of the raid kicks in at the weekend, somebody can come along, buy out any remaining that are still existing. There'll be any goblins will be able to do about it, because they'll be limited by that concentration bar. And then market resets will happen, and all of a sudden, rank 3 potions, flasks, enchants, gems, like, will be 3 times the price on raid night. And there'll be nothing anybody can do about it. It's gonna be so funny to see how it works. Like, genuinely, this might cause riots from, like, raiders and stuff. It's going to mean that if you want to save gold, if you don't want, raiding can be expensive, especially at the beginning of an expansion. Mythic Plus can be expensive at the beginning of an expansion. You're going to want to be proactive if you want to use the best consumables. Because top quality consumables are going to be expensive. They're going to be reset when the demand kicks in every week. Going to be wild. You don't have to touch any of this. If you've got 10, 20 million gold already, you don't need to touch any of this. You just buy shit out and do market resets. And let me tell you, market resets on a region-wide scale, woo! It's gonna be spicy. It's gonna be really fun. You think going for ingenuity would be a good bet because of getting a refund on concentration? Sounds really good. Unless you get more out of it by going multi-resist. Not with knowledge points. This is where the rules change. You do not want to put any points into ingenuity or concentration or any of that guff. You don't care about any of that shiz. You genuinely... Luckily, Alchemy... With Alchemy, they've woven it in so you don't have a choice. There are other professions out there that have dedicated ingenuity nodes. Ignore them. Do not put points in those. Your crafted gear, though, there's a strong possibility. Things like crafting gear, you might get an ingenuity tool. You might use the ingenuity enchant on your ingenuity tool. Because if you're using concentration a lot, any procs of ingenuity means you can press the button more often. The more often you can press the button, it's basically like multi-craft in a way. It's not quite as powerful because you still have to pay for the materials. It's more like resourcefulness. But when given the choice of using a resourcefulness, a multi-craft, or an ingenuity tool, if you are using concentration, the right answer is probably more often than not going to be using ingenuity. This is where an add-on like Craft Sim could come in clutch. Because the maths on that is going to change. It's not a yes or no answer. This is why having just one profession tool you're going to want 2, maybe 3 profession tools quite quickly as well if you can get your hands on it. What does ingenuity give you? Ingenuity gives you a chance to have an ingenious breakthrough when you concentrate on a craft, refunding 50% of the concentration spent. So if you're spending concentration to craft things, you know, you want as much of a chance to give it you back. It doesn't give it you all back, but it gives you some of it back. So this is why it kind of acts similar to resourcefulness, it's resourcefulness for concentration. Resourcefulness is for your materials. Ingenuity is resourcefulness for your concentration. But this is why I prioritize ingenuity lower down, because resourcefulness works every time you press the button regardless. Ingenuity only works if you also use concentration, which you might not do every time. So it's a lesser important stat for most people. A chance to only give 50% back doesn't seem that amazing to me. No, it's not. It's really not. It's really not that amazing. I don't recommend ingenuity very much at all. It's like if you were to prioritize the secondary stats, it's like the list says. It's down the bottom. How do you get concentration? Is it like energy in mobile games? It's exactly like energy in mobile games. It slowly regenerates over time. A full stack of 1,000 concentration is about 48 hours, roughly. Yeah. Gonna be fun, though. It's gonna be fun. Okay. Well, I think for today, boys and girls, that's enough little poking around and playing with Alchemy. I'm gonna call it there for today. I'm gonna go and write some of this up in a bit more detail in the guide. I'm gonna make sure that everything we've gone through is sort of spoken about in a bit more detail in here. This bit of shameless promo time is now available for gold goblins over on my Patreon. You'll have seen it a few times on the stream, but you can see every profession in as much detail as I can possibly do to help, hopefully, give you guys as much of a head start as possible, both when the expansion goes live and also throughout the expansion. So you can check that out if you wish. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Have yourselves a... Why has that not done anything? Where's Streamlabs when I need him? Where's Streamlabs when I need him? Oh, it's in the pinned comment for Team Twitch. Go. There's a better link for you. But yes, boys and girls, I'm off. I'm going to go write that up. I'm going to go get me some food. I suspect we'll get a beta build this evening. I'm admittedly watching football this evening, so I might not be paying too much attention to exactly when it goes live, but we might have some new interesting things to poke around with and test tomorrow if we get any indication that any profession stuff has changed. So that'll probably be the plan for tomorrow. If it is Wednesday tomorrow, it is, yeah, that's the plan. All right, have yourselves a wonderful day, boys and girls. Thank you very much. Have a good one. I'll catch you all next time. Peace.